What's cracking, y'all? You are now watching Boo TV. Appreciate you for stopping in. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified, and let's get into the topic for today. So I found this video here on YouTube from the Dan Patrick Show. And the title is, as you know, you clicked it, Kobe fan reacts to, is Larry Bird still a top 10 player of all time? Now, this was uploaded about 2 to 3 weeks ago, which is, if I'm putting things together, I think that's more or less around-ish the same time when Dennis Rodman made those comments about Bird, saying that he'd be playing in Europe. So I don't know if this was done as a reaction to that, but I have a feeling it might have been given the timing. But let's get into it. It's about 13 minutes long, but I'm curious to see the discussion that Dan Patrick has. So let's get into it. I'm gonna tell you where I stand. Bird, to me, is a no-brainer top 10 player of all time, and I have Bird in my top 3.
Dennis Rodman, Basketball Hall of Famer, was on Vlad TV. And I thought, okay, what's Dennis up to these days?
Off the bat.
And apparently he's up to his old ways, saying things about Larry Bird.
If Larry Bird played in this era, I think he'd be in Europe. So I'm just letting you know, man. Really, like I said, I'm just saying he'd be somewhere over there, because I think his game was fit for Boston at that time in the 80s and stuff like that. But today's world, oh hell no, there's no way. I'm not downplaying him because he's a great player at that time, just like I was. And but I'm saying no, there's no way. I think the kid from Denver is way better than him.
Okay. So Dennis is not disparaging Larry Bird while saying that he would be playing in Europe. He would not be able to play in the United States. I don't know where the compliment is there from Dennis, but, Dennis is a knucklehead when it comes. I should say he's calculated. He is calculated. If he would have come out and said, Larry Bird, he would be great today as he was back then nobody's talking about Dennis Rodman today. How do you get in the headlines or in the news? Then you come out and say something negative about Larry Bird. Larry Bird would be better in today's NBA, in my opinion, because you're able to shoot the three. He would be shooting 8 to 10 threes per game. And back when he played, they didn't use it as the weapon that they use it now. You can't put your hands on him. You can't body him. And all you do is, space the floor, and Bird's going to be able to score. I don't think that would... Today's game... Oh, they're so much more athletic. You're not allowed to put your hands on anybody. Yes, Eden.
But this conversation is, and look, I don't want to. Today's a great day, and I don't want to pick a fight. Okay, can we just agree that we'll keep our heads cool after I say this?
You and me,
everybody.
Oh,
at some point, members of the media are going to have to accept the fact that Larry Bird will drop out of the top 10. I know it's sacrilegious. I just threw something.
Have you started drinking already?
It's at some point he is going to drop out of there, and we're just going to have to accept that.
How about we have Magic and Bird, and they occupy one spot in the top 10?
Because that's how desperate the media is to keep Larry in the top 10. Now we have to combine him with another player. They're really the same guy.
Well, didn't Jerry West drop out of the top 10?
Yes, he did.
I'm okay with that.
No,
I didn't cry.
Yeah, well, no, but Larry Bird is the one guy that people are really holding on to, that they really need to keep him in the top 10. And there's a portion of the media that are very desperate to keep him in that top 10.
If he drops out, I'm okay with that. I am. Truly okay with that.
Okay.
Okay. I just want to state that I don't... These top 10 rankings, there's going to be a couple of guys that are going to fall out. And you're going to go, wow, that guy is not in the top 10 anymore. It's recency bias. Where does Steph Curry end up? Does Kevin Durant crack the top 10? Does the Joker get in there? Greek Freak? I get it. and it's basketball is constantly changing and great players, but Larry Bird will always be one of the greatest players of all time and had a window that is almost unrivaled. Those first 7 or 8 years, those you can put him up against anybody there. But if Dennis Rodman is being foolish here, but it feels like he's trolling people. Dennis doesn't really feel that way. That Larry wouldn't be able to play in the NBA at all? Would Dennis be able to play in the NBA? Guy couldn't shoot. He was a rebounder, not as good a passer as Draymond Green, not a shooter. Used to be a really good defender in Detroit. He wasn't a great defender after that because he would basically kind of slough off and then his man just to get rebounds. But as a rebounder, is Dennis Rodman going to be a Hall of Famer? Well, he's a Hall of Famer because he played on teams that had great players. Dennis on his own wouldn't have been a Hall of Famer. But what he did with these other teams, a Hall of Famer. But he's being foolish by saying that Larry Bird would be playing in Europe. That's silly. And then we have to go through Larry's resume here. He won MVPs, 12 all-time, 12-time All-Star, his dream, all this stuff. Dennis knows what he's doing because nobody cares about Dennis Rodman. But having been there when he did say this about Larry Bird, that if he was black, he'd be just another player. And then Isaiah goes, yeah, I agree. And then all of a sudden, Bird's in the NBA Finals. He has to hold a press conference to basically say, it's okay, whatever Isaiah and Dennis say. And Bird let him off the hook.
He did.
Because they both said something really stupid, especially Dennis. If he was a black player, he'd be just another player. So Dennis is just trolling people here. Yeah, Paul.
Dan, I'm a birdist. I'm a bird truther. I've always, in all seriousness, I think
birdist.
You got to look at Larry Bird. I guess if people want to take him out of the top 10 all time, is it because his career wasn't long enough? Because he did play till he was 35. Now, the first 9 years were spotless. Yeah. Then he had the back injury. So you could say that it's not as long as Kobe. It's not as long as...
Okay, who had a career that was of similar length who's in the top 10? Yes, Marv.
Magic.
Well... Magic won more titles. Okay.
Right. So is it resume?
And then Magic, with HIV, was forced to retire and then eventually was able to come back. But I don't know if we're talking about resume or playing ability or both. But will Magic drop out of the top 10? If Bird's going to drop out of the top 10, who else would be? Karl Malone is not a top 10 player of all time, I don't think. Tim Duncan's in there. We got Russell. You got Chamberlain, Shaq. Steph Curry's there.
Yeah,
he's on the doorstep, man. Yeah, Marv.
Magic is going to be a little bit harder to take out because everybody, for the most part, regards him as the greatest point guard ever.
Yeah,
a lot of people don't regard Larry Bird anymore as the greatest small forward ever.
Who is the greatest small forward ever?
He's going to say LeBron James.
Oh, you can't say LeBron's a small forward. He's not.
He's listed as a small...
Has he been listed as a guard before?
He has.
Yeah, Bird is never listed as a guard. Like LeBron is... See, that's why we don't have positions. We shouldn't. Because LeBron is not a point guard, 2 guard, a 3, a 4. He's whatever you need him to be. Bird was a small forward at 6'9". I don't think he was ever listed. Maybe he was as a power forward. Maybe. But... Tim Duncan would be in front of Larry Bird if you wanted to. Okay, how about this? Game on the line. Who do you want? Who do you want? Let's say the last 40 years. Since 1980, who do you want? Game on the line. Who do you want? How many players would be in that category? You got to win a game. Let's take Jordan out of it. I think we can all agree on that. Now the list gets interesting.
Take Jordan out.
Got one pick, Marv. Game on the line. You got this guy.
Kobe.
Okay.
Hey.
Fritzy?
Bird was the first name I thought of.
Okay. Seton?
Dame because he hit the coolest game winner of all time.
Okay, I didn't expect that answer.
Game time, baby.
Yeah, I don't think he's in the top 10 all time.
No, he sure isn't.
No, he's not.
Sure isn't, but that was an awesome shot.
Yeah.
Far from it.
Paulie?
Bird, he had every shot anywhere on the court. It didn't matter. He had no location if he needed a game-winning shot.
Yeah.
Same
Could
for
you
Kobe.
compare Larry Bird, stay with me on this one, a little bit to Lawrence Taylor, where when he was at his best, he was the best, or close to it. He overlapped with Michael Jordan, Bird did. But the two best basketball players I've ever seen in my life, I've started watching basketball in 1980, are Michael Jordan and then Larry Bird, and I think it's very, very close. Best at the game of basketball, not resumes or marketing or shoes. And the best football player I've ever seen in my life, the best two, in my opinion, were Earl Campbell and Lawrence Taylor. Shorter windows, but what they did for a living at their peak. So like Lawrence Taylor, you're a big Lawrence Taylor fan, Dan. People, if you said who's the greatest defensive player of your lifetime?
There was nobody like Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah.
That teams, he changed offenses. They had to devise ways to slow down Lawrence Taylor. I mean, if I ended up with Bird and you took somebody else other than Michael Jordan, I'd feel pretty good. I just saw too many of those moments, like real time. And am I holding on to an era? Yeah, to a certain degree, but I did see it. It's like when I saw Michael do that. You know, that's why when people say, oh, LeBron or Michael, I'd go, no, I'd take Mike. If it was a game, a series, I'd take Michael. The career, then we can have an argument because LeBron will be the most decorated player in the history of the game. But winning a game on the line, you know, I'll take Bird. If you take somebody else, you take Kobe, I'll take Bird. You take whoever else, Shaq, I'll take Bird. I'm okay with that. I have no problem with that. But as far as him dropping out of the top 10, I think that's going to happen. And I certainly understand that. Yes, Mark.
Will people keep him in there because of his importance to the game?
Well, they could. I think him and Magic, the importance of what they meant to the game. Now, should you put them in there because the intangibles of they saved the game, you know, what they did for college basketball, then what they did quickly with the NBA, championships, East Coast, West Coast, yeah, contributions to the game, but I don't know if that's fair to everybody else. Then you do the modern era because Wilt was different. Wilt was Babe Ruth. Bill Russell was a wonderful team player, maybe the best team player in any sport, but wasn't a great player. He was just great for the Celtics. Then you get, natural talent, and then you start discussing that. And then that gets tricky because Bird wasn't a great athlete, which,
So?
Here he's saying that Joker can't do anything, but, he's a bigger version of Larry Bird. Okay, that's fine. But you're right. There's a certain age group that they're holding on for dear life with these are our memories, and don't you take those away from us. Yes, Eden.
And it's Duncan falling out of the top 10 first anyway, before Larry Bird, right?
I would say yes.
Of course.
I would say yes. If let's say Tim had 3 titles, Larry had 3 titles. There's no discussion here.
Right.
But Tim has 5, and I have to acknowledge that. But he wasn't a better player than Larry Bird. He just wasn't. Yes, Tom.
And how many points does Duncan get if he was theatrical and outspoken and more of a Sports Center highlight? How close does he get to staying in the top 10?
Well, I think that helps. He didn't want to get noticed. Like I don't think he ever cared about that. Yes, he.
By the way, if I can have a number 2 for a game-winning shot,
yeah,
no question all day. Big Shot Bob.
Big Shot Bob Horry.
100%.
Okay. All right. Let's take a break. Dennis Rodman did what Dennis Rodman wanted to do. We're talking about Dennis Rodman today. Now, I'm being critical of him because he's being silly, and you're going to hear him laughing. Larry would be in Europe. He'd be in Europe on vacation after roasting you for 35 is what he'd be doing, Dennis.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. An interesting topic of conversation, I'll say that. I've already put out a video regarding the Dennis Rodman comments You can check that out in the Larry Bird playlist if you want to, if you haven't seen it. But I'm not going to talk about Dennis Rodman comments again. But he's an idiot. Sorry, got to stretch. Okay. Whew. But yeah, interesting topic of conversation. And Dan Patrick has a very unbiased and I think level-headed approach to these topics. Now, I don't watch a whole lot of the Dan Patrick show, but the few times I've watched segments, I have to say he's pretty grounded, he's pretty level-headed, and he tries to be unbiased, and I do like that about him. But correct, I don't necessarily disagree with anything that was said. It's like as time goes on, and the game continues to evolve and change, and more great players come, and more great players come, and decades upon decades upon decades, people are going to start moving out. People are going to start taking people out and replacing them with other people. That is true. That is true. But depending on where you have, in this example, Larry Bird. If you have Larry Bird 9 or 10, then he might be out of your top 10 sooner than later. If you got Larry Bird in your top 3, well, if there's any chance anybody replacing him, that could take decades, probably a next lifetime type of thing, right? I'm just saying, it's been decades upon decades since Larry Bird stopped playing. And most people have him in their top 10 somewhere, wherever that is. But all these lists are subjective. But as the eras move on and continue to come, we know how this thing goes. Players like Larry Bird, even my guy, Kobe Bryant, people are going to they're going to start catering to the current NBA player trends and the history, despite having video evidence, the lines are going to get blurry. Players' histories are going to get blurry and skewed and misrepresented and not taken into consideration when people talk about these all-time greats. And there will be a time. It is. Despite having all the evidence to be like, this is what this guy was. Look at his game. This is what he did. This is what he meant to the game. The intangible thing. All that stuff. And Dan brings up another good point. Like, are you considering the intangibles, right? Are you considering what Larry Bird and Magic Johnson did for the game of basketball? Do you consider that when you are evaluating these players and ranking them in top 10? Do you consider that? Or are you saying, no, I appreciate what they did, but I'm just looking at numbers, accolades, skills. It's a great story piece, but that's not how I'm evaluating my top 10. It's a nice side story. Well, it's more than a side story. It might not be no NBA today, so for a nice side story. Let's be honest here. But it is what it is. It is what it is. I got Bird in my top 3. So it would be very hard, like just thinking of the state of the NBA that we have now and the players we have now. There is not a single player playing that I would consider pushing ahead of Larry Bird right now. I got LeBron James number 4 behind Larry Bird. So if there was anybody that was going to leapfrog Larry Bird, it would be LeBron James. He would be the only one. But right now, as it stands, if LeBron James ended his career today, I do not have him ahead of Larry Bird. I do not. Absolutely not. And like Patrick said, Dan Patrick said, at the end of the day, LeBron James is going to have every effing, counting record, man. He's going to be super decorated, all these numbers, rebounds, assists, points, because he's still playing at a high level. He's going to crush all those records. So how much do you take that into consideration? Right? But given the current state of the NBA, the players we have, and how I could possibly foresee like Steph Curry ending their career, how I possibly foresee KD ending their career, whoever else I might, Giannis Antetokounmpo, like he mentioned. As of right now, I don't think any of those guys are even close to sniffing Larry Bird. So we'll see. But I do think Giannis, Steph Curry, and Joker have a chance to crack top 10 before their careers are over. But we have to see what happens. We have to see what happens. We have to. I mean, after the Bucks won a championship, people thought they were going to win the next one and the one after. And you see how the NBA works. They haven't been back to the final since. So while it looked like the Bucks might have been about to go on some type of championship run, possibly a really deep championship or playoff run, finals run, whatever, not so much. He hasn't been back to the finals yet. It's hard to get back sometimes. Well, it's hard to get back, period. But especially if you don't have a super team. Wink. Anyway, that's all I gotta say about it. Thanks for stopping in. Please give your opinion. Let me know what you think. Feel free to throw some rebuttals back my way if you disagree with anything I just said. But I apologize if I rambled on and ranted and repeated myself. I know I tend to do that a lot. I hate it. But yep. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified, and I'll catch you on the next one. We out, baby.